As happens in Windsor all the time, there was a recession, it was cyclical, and so I did not get a job for almost 9 months.
Then the recession of '82 hit and I hadn't made my probation and I got laid off.
One night, 4 of the members of the night staff, including myself, had a few drinks, and so we handed in a joint letter of resignation.
I applied several times again at the Star, and eventually I got a phone call out of the blue from Bob Pearson, who was the editor. He asked me, one, if I planned to have children, and I said, I think so, I'm not sure. Well, did I understand that if I had children I'd probably have to leave? And I told him yes. And because I was married, he would start me at the salary, the outstanding salary of $200 a week. Had I been single, I would have got $250. And I gotta tell you, I loved him, and he was progressive in many ways. It was the time and the culture.
So I heard about this job in Windsor and I came bolting down here, and I found out later that they had no intention of not only not talking to me, but to never hiring me, because they'd already decided to hire somebody else. Shortly after I got back to Toronto, this wonderful group from British Columbia called Direct Action, they're a bunch of Marxist terrorists, blew up the Lytton System cruise missile guidance plant in Etobicoke, right near where I was living with my parents. So I drove over there in my Lada, you know, hung on the fence, see all the police, and and I started taking notes. And so the next morning at 5:30, when the editors got in, and I called the Windsor Star in the middle of the night, and the biggest story in the world that day was that the Lytton System plant in Canada got bombed, and they had a story from me on the desk. And so then they rethought about hiring the other guy, and they called me up.
One night, 4 of the members of the night staff, including myself, had a few drinks, and we decided that we weren't very happy, so we handed in a joint letter of resignation. Much to our surprise, when we reported for work the next day, our severance papers were ready for us, and we were on our merry way out the door. So that was one of the great lessons of life that a young person learns early, not to be too rash. So I put out applications across the country. I received a letter from Norm Hull, then editor of the Windsor Star, telling me that if I wanted to make my way to Windsor, he would have a job for me. I began work here in October of 1964.